in this episode of American Giants.
Finally, in mid-2012, I did my first official Muffler Man trip. We left Decatur and we hit the road for Springfield, Illinois. Really nice guy, really nice family. His son started talking to me and then we were able to ask him some questions.
I can't believe you got one t-shirt.
And I
There
forgot.
are three of us.
Around 1962, a fiberglass company in Venice, California started making giant Paul Bunyan figures for businesses to use as attention getters. After a few sales and a nice write-up in a trade magazine, their business took off. Over the next 10 years, over 400 of these fiberglass giants were sold across America. Now, 40 years later, and with fewer than 200 left, they remind us of a time before digital billboards and the internet. A time when businesses used giant roadside architecture to catch your attention. My name is Joel Baker. I travel across America searching for what has become known as the Muffler Man. The places they have been and the stories they hold fascinate me. And I never know what I'm gonna find as I look for the remaining American giants. Even though reports and sightings were coming in from all over the states, the guys at Roadside, Doug Kirby, Ken Smith, they didn't really know the history yet of where Muffler Men came from, how they were made and why, and all of that. And they really were kind of in the dark until the daughter of a guy named Steve Dashew came across their article. And she showed it to her dad and said, "Hey Dad, look at this. These guys are writing about the fiberglass giants you made back in the 60s. Steve Dashew contacted them around this time, and for the first time, the guys at Roadside America started finding out the history of Muffler Men, and he told them a bit of the background story and how they were made and why, and about the oil giants like Phillips 66 and Texaco that had contracts with them and started ordering them by the hundreds. You see, Steve Dashew started International Fiberglass when he was a very young man, probably around 21. And he had a boat business, a fiberglass boat business, and he wanted to augment the sales a little bit in the winter when they went down, when his sales dropped. So he found a guy named Bob Pruitt who had built a Paul Bunyan fiberglass giant, and this guy sold him that mold and a few animals as well. And so he started making animals and Bunyan figures in the winter. And what started out as just a small side business to help bring in a little extra income really started to bloom. And it really took off when one of his early customers wrote up an article about it in a trade magazine saying, you know, I bought this giant fiberglass guy and people are stopping now all the time and taking pictures in front of my store and my business has doubled. Boom, that's when it took off, and dozens of people started calling up International Fiberglass back in 1962 and started ordering what we now call Muffler Men. This guy's going 20 miles an hour. Hey there, guy.
Probably just a Sunday driver.
Some of us
doesn't know how to work a calendar.
But it's not Sunday. Sunday drivers should not be out on the road on Friday.
Maybe he has trouble with dates, Joel. You shouldn't judge him.
We left Decatur and we hit the road for Springfield, Illinois. And this was officially when we got on the Route 66 trail. And Muffler Men, I think, partly are helped made famous because of Route 66. Many people enjoy Route 66. It's popular. They enjoy road trips and traveling there. And Muffler Men have lived on Route 66 for years, so they make up part of Route 66 history, especially in Illinois. More of them are found in Illinois on the route than in any other state. And so you kind of have in the Muffler Man world, like with people, some are very well known and famous and others are not so much, and that's exactly how it is with Muffler Men. You have Muffler Men that a lot of people have seen and they're well known, and then you have some in some little podunk town in Texas that nobody's hardly visited or heard of, even though they are on Roadside America. So as we started traveling on Route 66, you start hitting these muffler men that are pretty well known and documented. Like, for example, the one in Wilmington, just south of Chicago, for the launching pad restaurant. It's called the Gemini Giant. Very popular. Illinois even put it in one of his commercials to advertise tourism in the state.
Every time we stop somewhere, Joel is very driven. He wants to get his shots and he wants to find out all about the muffler men and their history and do what we set out to do. Neto and I, on the other hand, have other plans most of the time. When we stop, I usually hop out of the van and skate around on our skateboards or ripsticks or whatever else we've got with us that have wheels. But you have to lighten things up when you're on the road. You can't work nonstop. You need equal amounts of work and play, I feel.
So everywhere we stop, the guys are hopping out with their ripsticks and skating around the parking lot while I'm filling up the tank. And it's just a neat experience to get out and just to be looking for these giants.
It's raining. I'm gonna get water.
All right, here he is. He's coming up on the right. We're in Springfield. This is a Bunyan style muffler man. I actually don't know much about him. I just know they call him the Lauterbach muffler man, and here he is up here on the right. When we got there, I left the guys out in the lot to get some B-roll and video of the muffler man, and I went in to have a chat with the owners. And I often did this by this point in time to get a little bit of history and learn more. And they're a really nice, great group of guys there. We talked, and they told me a little bit about the history. And as I was walking out the door, he said, "Hey, we got some shirts we've made." And so I said, "Yeah, sure." They had customized one for their shop, and he gave me one. So I go out into the lot and, of course, proudly show the guys, and they were not at all impressed because I'd completely forgotten to get them shirts too. So I went and talked to the guys here, and actually they're really friendly. I didn't catch the name of the guy I talked to, but his dad has worked here since the 80s and now owns the place, and this guy's been here ever since. So they were at a different location. He went through a tornado a few years ago, 2006, and the roof came off of this building right here, hit his head, and a neighbor found his head in the neighborhood back here and brought it back. And so he's got quite a story. They put them all back together. But they gave me a t-shirt, and there you can see the muffler man.
I can't believe you got one t-shirt.
And I
there
forgot,
are three of us.
I forgot to ask for t-shirts for my friends, so maybe I should go back in there and do that now. So I caught some heat for that. But we went back in to get more shirts, and that's actually when I got to talk, to do my first interview.
Well, Russ Lewis started Midtown Tire in 1952, where the Hilton now is. And at any rate, in about 1960 or 61, they opened a second store at the corner of State and Laurel in Springfield, a picture of which is hanging on the wall. And they purchased the Giant at that time as a promotional item for that store. I was in college and helped open that store at the time, and that store was only open for 1 to 2 years, somewhere in that range. And at that time, they sold the Giant then to what was the Roundup Cafe at Farmersville, Illinois, on Route 66. And that store, that Giant remained there until I-55 was opened, which was about 1977 or 8. And at that time, the Lewis family purchased the Giant back from them and moved it to where it's sitting now here on Wabash, and so it's been sitting here since 1978.
Joel and Neto have a lot more experience running, camera and doing documentary type stuff, and I'm still kind of learning the ropes. And we had a handful of different cameras with us, a wide variety of equipment, if you will. And I decided that it would be cool if we took the little GoPro camera that we have and taped it to a stick and raised it up so we could get some, just different shots.
While I was in getting the interview, Bo grabbed the GoPro camera and the mic boom pole that we had brought along, and he started playing around by putting the GoPro up higher. And this is really the first time we had messed around with this, and he did a couple shots down the arms and so on. And we watched it a little bit later and we said, wow, this is really cool. It's a new perspective. When muffler men often lean slightly forward and their gaze goes downward. So when you're looking up at them, they're looking right at you. So to get a camera up higher and around the back and the side, it's really a new perspective that nobody gets to see, because who's going to get up that high normally? So that was a really kind of a neat discovery Bo made early on with the GoPro camera, and turns out it became standard procedure at all muffler man stops to get these different angles and shots.
And raise it up so we could get some, just different shots. Close-ups of the awesome beards, or anything else that we could wave the stick in front of, and it just mixed things up.
As you start peeling back the history on each muffler man, you start learning all kinds of things, and the Lauterbach muffler man was no exception. I quickly discovered after talking to the owner that his father, who originally bought the muffler man from International Fiberglass, found it to be successful. He got a little more business from it. People were stopping by, made his business a little bit more of an icon in town. And so he talked to one of his friends down in Salem, Illinois, Stan the Tire Man, who had a shop there. And he said, hey, I got this guy out from California and he's been a big help to my shop. And so Stan orders one, a classic Bunyan muffler man, and brings him down. And a few years later, he also bought the girl version that International Fiberglass made, known as the Uniroyal Gal. And so he had two giants down there in Salem. Today, that Bunyan has moved on to North Carolina, and the girl has moved south to Stan's Tire Store in Mount Vernon.
Every person that we talk to, they have a story just like the fiberglass guy. And you get into it. You meet some really interesting people, and people will go out of their way to kind of like open up to you and show you different places. I don't think there's anything more important than storytelling. It's how you share history and teach your kids and make friends. It's how you tell a joke. I think that what he's doing, there's some importance to it. It doesn't seem like it when you first hear about it, but if you sit and listen long enough, it sucks you in, and then you find yourself caring about these big goofy fiberglass statues, the headless dinosaurs and the lumberjacks and the nitwits and everything else, because you end up caring about the people that are behind it all.
As we drove out of Springfield, it was kind of a new era. I knew something had started with shooting these videos and getting interviews from the owners. And as we headed north to Atlanta, it was exciting. I knew that this was going to be something cool. I was excited to share what we were finding with others and to see where this road would lead.